Alright, what's up guys, this is your Trey. How's everything been going? So what I'm going to do today is just talk a little bit about the insights that I have, that I am currently learning in my journey in this pursuit right here, which is art. So to cut things short, basically just pick what you want. Let's say for example, you look up to artists like Kim Jong-gi, Peter Han, Karl Kopinski. So, in order for you to be able to use certain techniques that they use, or be able to copy the way they do specific things like shading, their line work, the way that they draw anatomy or the human figure, what you have to do basically is to just copy their works, do master studies. And then what will happen is you'll naturally mix your biases and your inclinations with their style, therefore creating the unique style for yourself. And not just that, uh, I have been discovering a lot of things recently. And before I tell the other things, I just want to preface this by this is not because I have been hearing other artists talk about this. This is a discovery by experience. So I just want to share my experiences. This is not any dogma. You don't have to follow this, but there might be another person that is just like me that I might be able to help, and that's what I'm aiming for. So be irrational. Don't worry too much about the marks that you make on the paper. What I'm learning right now currently is just be comfortable with chaos. Just be comfortable with not knowing what will happen on the page, because it's really mysterious. And I've found out that to make good art, you have to be able to mix the unknowns and the academic part of art. And that means is that the fundamentals and abstract side of art. I've discovered that because I've been doing a lot of master studies from Kim Jong-gi, or just super ani artists, or just artists that I find on Instagram that has the similar style of Kim Jong-gi. And what I've been seeing is sometimes they make marks on the paper that doesn't really make sense at all. It's just there because it's just there because they want to put it there, or I really don't know. I can't interpret it the way that they interpret it on their head while they are drawing. I can only interpret what they have put on paper in my head while I'm copying it. So basically, it's still a subjective thing. And this is why on my warm-ups, I've been doing a lot of abstract stuff. Basically, I would practice certain fundamental concepts about art on it, such as line weight variations, but the stuff that I would put on paper using ballpoint pen, I would intentionally make it not make sense. However, I would still practice the things that I want to include in my art that I see on masters such as Kim Jong-gi. And those are putting lines, random lines, or contour lines inside the figures. When you are practicing art, academically, you will know that they are like the rubber bands wrapped around the forms. Usually the arms, the legs, uh, the stomach. You can basically uh, interpret forms that way so that it helps you see them visually accurate. So I've been practicing that on my abstract warm-ups. So the other thing that I've been practicing on my abstract warm-ups is that putting more blacks on the paper, and being comfortable with putting blacks on the paper. Much like as you can see here on the hair, um, I'm trying to be more comfortable with that because I found out that I've been noticing that a lot on Kim Jong-gi's art or just super any artist's art, that if your art is just pure lines, like the second figure that I'm drawing here, it's kind of boring. And what I see a lot in the artists that I admire is that they have a very strong contrast between light and dark values, almost like they only use two values in their drawings. So that's what I'm trying to emulate, and I'm making myself more comfortable with that on my abstract warm-ups. Just random doodling. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have a beginning. It also doesn't have an end. Um, don't try to make it look good. Just relax while doing it. The important thing is that you sit and you fill a page of abstract warm-ups, and that can be really just anything. But you have to intentionally make it uh, not make sense. If it makes sense, it's not an abstract warm up, it's an academic warm up, which is what I'm going to talk about here. Academic warm ups are those where you put cylinders, cubes, spheres, cones, and pyramids on the paper. And by the way, I use an A4 paper while I'm warming up. So I would have one for my academic warm-ups and then second for my abstract warm-ups. Academic warm-ups basically is just really a part of my routine now. I don't It's like starting an engine. It's like the small steps I take before I lift on the gym or before I go run. Warm-ups by the word itself warms you up for the activity ahead, the heavy activity ahead. So after I do warm-ups, I now go to my main thing, which is direct drawing practice. As you can see, the big difference that I have now on my art compared to the ones that I've posted like 3, 4, 5 months ago is that I don't use construction blocks anymore. I don't use two cubes, two elongated cubes anymore to represent the rib cage and the pelvis. I just directly draw. And to be able to come to this place right now, I have to go to those those phase where I use construction blocks. So it's much like riding a bicycle. At first you have to use the training wheels, but over time you kind of build this trust with yourself that maybe this isn't bad after all. Um, Maybe, yeah, it's just a few inches from the ground. If I ever fall, it's not that big of a deal. So I think training wheels are really necessary at first. Some people don't use them, some people go straight on and they fall hard, very hard. However, that fall really teaches them a lot. It makes them more courageous, especially if you don't have people around them reacting so hysterically to what just happened, because it's just part of life. You won't die if you fall into a bicycle unless you are running on a very high speed. And when you are a child, of course, you're just figuring things out. You don't know how to balance on the bike yet, so you won't even have an idea, or you won't even like to go on high speeds because you don't even know how to balance yourself. So by using warm-ups, by using training wheels, by using construction blocks, you are preparing yourself to be comfortable with failure.